never thought a simple card could hurt so much. But that day, at my sister Emma's baby shower, that blank white card felt like a slap across my face. The day had started like any other family gathering. I'd spent 3 weeks helping my mom plan Emma's baby shower, staying up late to handcraft decorations, coordinating with the venue, and making sure everything would be perfect for my sister's special day. Even though Emma and I had grown apart over the years, I wanted to be the supportive sister I'd always tried to be. "Lisa, make sure you get those little blue ribbons for the favors," my mother had reminded me countless times. Emma specifically asked for them, and you know how important this is to her. I'd nodded and smiled, swallowing the small sting that came with her tone. My mother had always had a way of making me feel like I was perpetually falling short. The baby shower was held at my aunt's sprawling backyard, transformed with white and blue decorations that caught the early May sunlight. 30 women gathered around tables, decorated with delicate flower arrangements that I'd stayed up until 2 a.m. perfecting. My sister sat in a decorated chair at the center, her 7-month pregnant belly draped in an expensive dress my mother had bought her the week before. "You look beautiful," I whispered to Emma as I helped arrange the gifts table. She gave me a distracted smile before turning to chat with her college friends. I caught my mother's eye as she moved through the crowd, greeting everyone with practiced charm. She was wearing her favorite pearl necklace, the one she always wore for special occasions. She hadn't worn it to my college graduation. "Lisa, could you help serve the appetizers?" she called out, not waiting for my response before turning back to Emma's mother-in-law. I moved through the crowd with a tray of finger foods, listening to the excited chatter about my sister's baby boy. No one seemed to notice that I'd prepared all the food myself, or that I'd taken 2 days off work to make everything perfect. After lunch, my Aunt Janet announced it was time for gifts. The guests gathered in a semicircle around Emma, who sat beaming beside my mother. I took my place in the background, camera ready to capture each moment. Emma opened gift after gift: baby clothes, toys, a stroller from her in-laws, and various gift cards that made her squeal with delight. I'd spent nearly a month's rent on a handcrafted wooden crib that I knew she'd been eyeing. When she opened it, she smiled and said a quick, "Thanks, Lisa," before moving on to the next package. "Now," my mother announced, standing up with an envelope in her hand, "I have a special gift for the mother-to-be." The room hushed in anticipation. My mother handed Emma an elegant cream envelope with a blue ribbon. Emma opened it carefully, and her eyes widened. "Mom!" she gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "What is it?" someone called out. Emma held up a check. $10,000, she said, her voice breaking, "for the baby's college fund." The room erupted in exclamations and applause. My mother smiled proudly, soaking in the admiration. "You've always been my star," she said to Emma, loud enough for everyone to hear. "And this little boy deserves the best start in life." My chest tightened as I watched them embrace. $10,000 was more than my mother had ever given me for anything, including when I'd needed help with my own college tuition and had to take out loans instead. Then, almost as an afterthought, my mother turned to me. "And Lisa, I have something for you too, since you helped with the shower." The room quieted as she handed me a small white envelope, nothing like the elegant one she'd given Emma. I felt everyone's eyes on me as I opened it, expecting perhaps a small gift card or token of appreciation. Inside was a blank card. Nothing written, not even my name. Just empty white space staring back at me. I looked up at my mother, confusion washing over me. For a moment, I thought it must be a mistake. "Did you forget to write in it?" I asked quietly. My mother's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Oh," she said with a small laugh that sent a chill down my spine. "I thought you could use a blank card. You know, for your notes or whatever." Someone coughed awkwardly. Emma looked down at her lap. "And besides," my mother continued, turning back to Emma and placing a hand on her belly, "she deserves more right now. She's bringing the first grandchild into the family." The entire room went silent. I felt 30 pairs of eyes flicker between my face and the blank card in my hand. Heat crept up my neck as I realized what had just happened. I'd been publicly dismissed, diminished, and compared to my sister in front of everyone we knew. I just stared at the card and carefully put it back in the envelope, then into my purse. Nobody could look me in the eye. My Aunt Janet quickly announced it was time for cake, and the uncomfortable moment was swept under the rug as everyone moved toward the dessert table. I excused myself to the bathroom, where I locked the door and pressed my forehead against the cool mirror. The reflection staring back at me looked hollow. A woman who had spent her entire life trying to earn love that was freely given to someone else. This wasn't the first time my mother had shown her preference. It was just the most public, the most blatant. As I stood there, memories flooded back. Emma getting a car for her 16th birthday, while I received a sweater for mine. Emma's achievements celebrated with parties, while mine were acknowledged with brief nods. The constant refrain from my mother. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" I splashed cold water on my face and took a deep breath. Part of me wanted to leave, to walk out and never look back, but I knew that would only confirm what my mother already thought, that I wasn't strong enough, wasn't good enough. So I fixed my makeup, plastered on a smile, and rejoined the party. I served cake, took photos, and helped Emma organize her mountain of gifts. All while that blank card sat in my purse, a tangible reminder of where I stood in my family. As guests began to leave, my Aunt Janet pulled me aside. "Lisa, I'm so sorry about what happened," she whispered, squeezing my arm. "Your mother shouldn't have done that." I nodded, unable to trust my voice. "You know," she continued, "sometimes people can't see what's right in front of them. But I see you, sweetheart. I see how much you do for this family." Her kindness nearly broke me. I thanked her quickly and busied myself with cleaning up, avoiding further conversation. When only family remained, Emma approached me as I was folding up tablecloths. "Hey," she said, one hand resting on her belly. "Thanks for everything today." The shower was beautiful. I nodded, continuing to fold. "I'm glad you liked it." She hesitated, then said, "About Mom's gift." "It's fine," I cut her off. "I'm happy for you. The baby's college fund is important." But the way she did it, with the blank card... "Really, Emma, it's okay." My voice was steady, even as my hands trembled slightly. "I'm used to it." Emma's eyes widened slightly at my words, but she didn't press further. She squeezed my shoulder awkwardly before walking away to join our mother, who was chatting animatedly with Emma's mother-in-law, not even glancing in my direction. I finished cleaning up alone, methodically packing leftover food into containers and gathering discarded wrapping paper. The sun was setting by the time I finished, casting long shadows across the yard that had held so much celebration just hours before. "Do you need help loading your car?" My Uncle Mike appeared beside me, his kind eyes revealing he'd witnessed the earlier incident. "I'm okay, thanks," I said, managing a smile. "Just a few more boxes." "Lisa," he said, his voice low. "Your mother, she doesn't always see things clearly. She never has." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Your father would have been so proud of the woman you've become," he added. My father had died when I was 14 and Emma 11. Sometimes I wondered if things would have been different if he'd lived. I thanked my uncle and finished loading my car. As I was about to leave, my mother called out from the porch, "Lisa, aren't you going to say goodbye?" I turned to see her standing there, Emma beside her, both of them framed in the golden light from the house. They looked like a painting, the doting mother and the favored daughter, complete without me. I walked over, forcing a neutral expression. "I was just heading out. It's getting late." "Well, "Everything turned out wonderfully," my mother said, as if the card incident had never happened. "Emma was just saying how grateful she is for your help." Emma nodded, her eyes not quite meeting mine. "Thanks again, Lisa." "Of course," I replied automatically. "What are sisters for?" My mother patted my arm. "Why don't you come over for dinner tomorrow? We can look at the shower photos." In that moment, I realized she expected things to continue as they always had, me accepting the scraps of her attention, pretending the inequality didn't exist, playing my assigned role in the family dynamic. "I can't tomorrow," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. "I have plans." A flicker of irritation crossed my mother's face. "What plans? You didn't mention anything." "Just plans," I repeated, not elaborating. For once, I didn't feel the need to justify my time or seek her approval. She frowned slightly, but nodded. "Well, call me when you're free. We need to start planning the baby's welcome party." Of course we did. Another event where I would be expected to work behind the scenes while Emma received all the attention. "I'll call you," I said, knowing in that moment that I wouldn't. At least not right away. Something had shifted inside me, like a door finally closing on a room I'd spent too long in. I hugged Emma briefly, nodded to my mother, and walked to my car. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw them still standing there, watching me leave. For the first time, I didn't feel the usual pang of longing to be included in their circle of two. The drive home from the baby shower was a blur. Rain had started to fall, matching my mood as I replayed the day's events in my mind. The blank card was still in my purse, a white rectangle of rejection that seemed to grow heavier with each passing mile. When I reached my apartment, I didn't immediately go inside. Instead, I sat in my car, listening to the rhythmic sound of raindrops hitting the roof. For the first time that day, I allowed myself to feel the full weight of what had happened. Tears came silently at first, then in heaving sobs that shook my shoulders. I wasn't crying just because of a blank card or the $10,000 that had never been meant for me. I was crying for the years of trying to earn a love that had always been conditionally given, for all the times I dimmed my own light to avoid outshining my sister, for the young girl who had once believed that if she just tried hard enough, she'd finally be enough. Eventually, the tears subsided. I wiped my eyes and looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. "No more," I whispered to myself. Something had shifted inside me, like a door closing on a room I'd spent too long in. Inside my apartment, I made a cup of tea and sat at my small kitchen table. My phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Rachel, who had been at the shower. "Are you okay? What your mom did was seriously messed up." I didn't respond right away. Instead, I pulled out the blank card and stared at it. Then, in a moment of clarity, I grabbed a pen and began to write. "Dear Mom, today you showed me exactly what you think of me. Not with words, but with a blank space where your love should be. I've spent 28 years trying to earn what you give Emma freely. I'm done trying. From now on, I choose to fill my life with people who see me, who value me, who don't need me to be someone else to be worthy of their love. Lisa." I never intended to send it. The act of writing it was enough, acknowledging the truth I'd been running from for years. That night I slept better than I had in months, as if some burden had been lifted from my chest. The next morning, I woke to 3 missed calls from my mother and a text that read, "Call me when you get a chance. We need to discuss something." I stared at the message, feeling the familiar pull to drop everything and respond immediately. Instead, I made myself breakfast, got dressed, and only called her back once I felt centered and calm. "Lisa." "Finally," my mother answered on the second ring. "I've been trying to reach you." "I was busy," I replied simply. "What's up?" "I wanted to talk about yesterday," she said, her voice carrying that tone she used when she was about to explain why something was actually my fault. "I think you misunderstood the situation with the card." I took a deep breath. Did I? It seemed pretty clear to me. "Don't be dramatic," she sighed. "It was just a small gift. Emma's having a baby. She needs the financial support. You've always been so independent." "Independent because I had to be," I said quietly. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I've been taking care of myself since I was 16, because you were too busy with Emma to notice what I needed." There was a long pause. "That's not fair, Lisa. I've always treated you both equally." The old me would have backed down, apologized, tried to smooth things over. But something had changed inside me. "No, Mom, you haven't. And yesterday everyone saw it. So this is about embarrassing me in front of my friends." Her voice had taken on an edge. "This is about me finally seeing clearly. The blank card wasn't a mistake or an oversight. It was a perfect symbol of what I've always been to you, an empty space where a daughter should be." "You're being ridiculous," she snapped. "I have always loved you. In your way, maybe. But love shouldn't come with conditions. It shouldn't be something I have to earn while Emma gets it freely. Emma has always been more..." She stopped herself, but not quickly enough. "More what, Mom? More important? More lovable? More worthy?" The silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. "Lisa, I didn't call to argue," she finally said, her voice artificially composed. "I called because Emma's feeling upset that you left the shower early." "I didn't leave early," I interrupted. "I stayed until the very end. I cleaned up everything. I drove home in the rain with a blank card in my purse while my sister had $10,000 in hers." Another long silence. "What do you want from me, Lisa?" she finally asked, sounding genuinely puzzled. "Nothing anymore," I replied, surprised by how calm I felt. "That's the point. I don't want anything from you. I'm done trying to earn your approval or your love. I'm done comparing myself to Emma. I'm done being the daughter who's never quite good enough." "So what? You're just going to cut me off? Cut your sister off? Your own nephew?" "No," I said firmly. "I'm not cutting anyone off. I'm establishing boundaries. I'll still be in your life, but on my terms. I'll be the aunt who loves her nephew unconditionally. I'll be the daughter who respects herself enough not to beg for scraps of affection. But I won't be the afterthought anymore. I won't be the blank card." "Lisa, I have to go, Mom. I have plans today." It wasn't entirely true, but for once, I was putting myself first. "I'll call you next week." I ended the call before she could respond, my heart pounding but my mind clear. For the first time in my life, I had stood up to my mother without apologizing afterward. I had named the truth that had shaped our relationship for years. My phone immediately buzzed with a text from her. "This conversation isn't over. We need to talk about this when you're being more reasonable." I didn't respond. Instead, I picked up that blank card again and added a new line. "P.S. Thank you for the blank card. It turns out I needed the empty space to finally write my own story." Later that day, I met my friend Megan for coffee. We'd been friends since college, and she was one of the few people who truly understood my family dynamics. "So you actually said all that to your mom?" she asked, eyes wide after I recounted the phone call. I nodded, still a bit surprised at myself. "I did." "Wow," she breathed. "How does it feel?" I thought about it for a moment. Terrifying, liberating, like I've been holding my breath for years and finally took a deep gulp of air. Megan reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you." That took serious courage. "The thing is," I said, stirring my coffee thoughtfully, "I don't think anything will really change with her. She's been this way my whole life. But something's changed in me. I don't need her approval anymore. I don't need to be Emma." "You never did," Megan said firmly. You're incredible just as you are. If your mom can't see that, it's her loss. Over the next week, I ignored 3 more calls from my mother. Emma texted once, asking if everything was okay, but seemed relieved when I gave a non-committal response. The space and silence felt necessary, like I was detoxing from a lifetime of trying to be someone I wasn't. I focused on work, on my friends, on the small things that brought me joy. I enrolled in a photography class I'd been putting off. I rearranged my apartment, donating items that no longer served me. Each act felt symbolic, a reclaiming of my identity outside of my family's shadow. 10 days after the shower, my phone lit up with Emma's name. I hesitated before answering. Hello? Lisa. Emma's voice sounded strained. Can you come over? Mom's here and... She paused. I think we need to talk. My first instinct was to say yes, to drop everything and rush to smooth over whatever family drama was unfolding. But I caught myself. What do we need to talk about exactly? Emma sighed. Mom's been difficult since your phone call. She keeps saying you're being unreasonable, but... Another pause. I don't think you are. The blank card thing was really messed up. I was so surprised by this admission that for a moment, I couldn't speak. Are you still there? Emma asked. Yes, I said finally. I'm just surprised to hear you say that. I know, she said quietly. I should have said something at the shower. I'm sorry I didn't. The apology, small as it was, felt momentous. In all our years of our mother's favoritism, Emma had never once acknowledged it. If I come over, I said carefully, I need you to understand that I'm not going to pretend anymore. I won't play the role of the grateful second-best daughter. I understand, Emma said. And Lisa? I don't want my baby growing up watching what happened to us happen again. I don't want him to learn that love is something that has to be earned. Those words sealed my decision. I'll be there in an hour. As I hung up, I felt a strange mix of apprehension and hope. I had no illusions that one conversation would undo decades of family dynamics. But perhaps, just perhaps, that blank card had created space for something new to be written. Not just for me, but for all of us. I picked up my keys, took a deep breath, and headed out the door. Whatever happened next, I was going to face it as the woman I truly was, not the daughter I'd always tried to be. The drive to Emma's house felt longer than usual. I rehearsed what I might say to my mother, how I would maintain my boundaries without creating a scene. By the time I pulled into the driveway of Emma's colonial-style home, bought with help from my mother as a housewarming gift, my knuckles were white from gripping the steering wheel. Emma opened the door before I could knock. Her pregnancy had advanced enough that she had to step back to let me in, one hand supporting her lower back. Thanks for coming, she said, her voice hushed. Mom's in the living room. I nodded, noting the tension in Emma's expression. This wasn't the confident, effortlessly favored sister I was used to seeing. She looked uncertain, almost vulnerable. Are you okay? I asked. She gave me a tired smile. Pregnancy hormones, she said. But we both knew it was more than that. I followed her into the living room, where our mother sat perched on the edge of the sofa, back straight, her pearl necklace catching the afternoon light. When she saw me, her expression shifted from concern for Emma to something harder, more defensive. Lisa, she said with a nod. I'm glad you could join us. Her tone suggested the opposite. I took a seat across from her, leaving the armchair between us for Emma. Emma said you wanted to talk, I said, keeping my voice neutral. My mother glanced at Emma, who had lowered herself carefully into the chair. I thought we could clear the air about what happened at the shower. You've been avoiding my calls, and now Emma's upset. I noticed how she immediately positioned Emma as the victim, as if my boundary setting was the problem. I needed some space, I said simply. And I told you I'd call this week. My mother's lips thinned. A week is a long time when your sister is expecting. There's still so much to prepare for the baby. I felt the familiar tug of obligation, but resisted it. Mom, if this conversation is just about getting me back on board with baby preparations, then I'm not interested. Emma shifted uncomfortably. That's not why I asked you to come, she said, surprising me by contradicting our mother. I asked you here because we need to talk about what happened at the shower, about the blank card. My mother's face flushed. Emma, we discussed this. It was just a small oversight. There's no need to make it into something it isn't. It wasn't an oversight, I said calmly. You deliberately gave me a blank card and then told everyone Emma deserved more. I didn't mean it that way, my mother insisted, though her eyes slid away from mine. How did you mean it then? Emma asked, her voice gentle but firm. My mother looked genuinely surprised that Emma was questioning her. I simply meant that Emma needs our support right now. She's in a vulnerable position. And I'm not? I asked. Mom, you've been making me feel second best my entire life. The blank card was just the most public example. That's ridiculous, my mother scoffed. I've always loved you both equally. No, you haven't, Emma said quietly. The room went still. My mother stared at Emma as if she'd sprouted a second head. Emma, what are you talking about? She asked, her voice tight. Emma took a deep breath, one hand resting protectively over her belly. You've always favored me, Mom. Always. The car for my 16th while Lisa got a sweater. The full college tuition while Lisa had to take out loans. The down payment for this house while Lisa still rents. The $10,000 for the baby while Lisa got nothing. I sat frozen, hardly believing what I was hearing. Never in my life had Emma acknowledged the disparity between us. Never had she seemed to even notice it. My mother's face had gone pale. I gave you those things because you needed them. Lisa's always been more independent, more capable. No, Emma said firmly. You gave me those things because you've always seen me as an extension of yourself, and Lisa as, I don't know, the odd one out. Dad's daughter. At the mention of our father, something flickered in my mother's eyes. A flash of old pain, quickly suppressed. That's not true, she whispered, but her protest lacked conviction. It is true, I said, finding my voice. I've spent my whole life trying to earn what you give Emma freely. And at the shower, in front of everyone we know, you made it crystal clear that nothing I do will ever be enough. My mother looked between us, suddenly outnumbered. Her composure cracked slightly. You've always been so much like him, she said, almost to herself. So stubborn, so self-sufficient. You never seemed to need me the way Emma did. I did need you, I said, feeling a lump form in my throat. Every time you celebrated Emma's achievements but not mine. Every time you gave her opportunities, you denied me. Every time you asked me why I couldn't be more like my sister. I needed my mother to see me, to value me as I am. Tears welled in my mother's eyes, but she blinked them back. I did the best I could after your father died. It wasn't easy raising 2 daughters alone. No one's saying it was easy, Emma said gently. But Mom, what you did at the shower was cruel. And it made me realize that if you could do that to Lisa in front of everyone, what message would that send to my son as he grows up? That love is conditional? That one child is more valuable than another? My mother flinched. That's not what I want. Then what do you want? I asked. She seemed genuinely at a loss. I want things to go back to normal. I want my family together. That normal wasn't healthy, I said firmly. It was you favoring Emma and me accepting scraps of attention. It was both of us playing roles instead of being authentic. I can't go back to that. My mother's shoulders slumped slightly. For the first time, she looked her age. The lines around her mouth deepened, her eyes tired. Then what happens now? Now we try something new, Emma said, reaching over to take my hand. We try honesty. We try equality. We try real love, not just the performance of it. I squeezed Emma's hand, touched by her unexpected alliance. I'm willing to try that. But Mom, I need you to understand that I'm serious about my boundaries. I won't be treated like an afterthought anymore. My mother was silent for a long moment, looking between us. Finally, she nodded, though whether in understanding or just resignation, I couldn't tell. I suppose I owe you an apology, she said stiffly. Yes, I agreed, but only if you mean it. Only if something's going to change. She nodded again, more decisively this time. I do mean it, and I'll try to do better. It wasn't the emotional breakthrough I might have once hoped for, but it was something, an acknowledgement at least, that there was a problem. Emma broke the tension by shifting awkwardly in her seat. The baby's kicking like crazy, she said with a small smile. He always seems to know when things are intense. My mother immediately leaned forward, her attention captured. May I? Emma nodded, and our mother moved to place a hand on her belly, her face softening at the contact. I watched them, feeling the familiar pang of exclusion. Then Emma looked up and extended her other hand to me. Do you want to feel him too, Lisa? He's your nephew, after all. Something warm bloomed in my chest as I moved to sit on the arm of Emma's chair. She guided my hand to a spot on her belly, and after a moment, I felt it, a definite push against my palm. Wow, I breathed. I know, right? Emma laughed. He's going to be a soccer player, I swear. For a moment, we were just three women sharing a simple, human moment, the wonder of new life. No favorites, no competition, no past wounds, just the present, just connection. The moment passed when my mother stood up abruptly. I should get going. I have bridge club at 4. The familiar dismissal stung, but less sharply than before. I was learning that my mother's approval or disapproval didn't define my worth. I'll walk you out, Emma offered, struggling to rise. Stay put, I said. I'll see Mom out. At the door, my mother paused. Lisa, about the shower and everything else. I am sorry. I studied her face, seeing the genuine remorse mixed with the discomfort of acknowledging her own behavior. Thank you, I said simply. That means something. She nodded once, sharply, then added, Will you still help with the baby's welcome party? Emma needs the support. And there it was. The subtle return to the old pattern. The assumption that I would set aside my feelings for Emma's benefit. I'll help, I said, but not as the behind-the-scenes worker bee. If I'm involved, I want to be really involved. Equal credit, equal say in decisions. My mother looked surprised, then thoughtful. I suppose that's fair, she conceded. As she walked to her car, I realized that things wouldn't change overnight. My mother was too set in her ways, too committed to her vision of our family dynamics. But something had shifted today. I had set a boundary, and for once it had been acknowledged, if not fully respected. I returned to the living room where Emma was still sitting, her face pensive. You okay? I asked, settling back into my seat. She nodded. It's strange. I always knew Mom treated us differently, but I never really thought about how that felt for you. She looked up, meeting my eyes directly. I'm sorry, Lisa. I should have said something years ago. The apology, unexpected and sincere, brought tears to my eyes. It wasn't your fault, I said honestly. You were just accepting what was offered to you. Anyone would. Maybe, she said, but I still should have noticed. I should have spoken up. You're speaking up now, I pointed out. That counts for something. Emma smiled, rubbing her belly absently. I keep thinking about my baby. I don't want him to ever feel the way you felt. If we have another child someday, I want them both to know they're valued equally. You'll be a good mother, I said, and meant it. Despite our complicated relationship, I knew Emma had a kind heart. I hope so, she said. Then, hesitantly, I was thinking, would you be his godmother? I know things have been strained between us, but you're his aunt, and I can't think of anyone who would love him more unconditionally. The offer touched me deeply. Are you sure? What about your college roommate? I thought she was the front runner. Emma shook her head. I want it to be you. Someone who understands the importance of seeing a child for who they really are, not for who you want them to be. I felt tears threatening again. I'd be honored, I said simply. We spent the next hour talking more openly than we had in years, about our childhood, about the ways our mother's favoritism had shaped both of us, about her fears for motherhood, and my recent realization that I'd been living for approval instead of for myself. When I finally left, Emma hugged me tightly. Come over next weekend. We could look at the nursery together. I'd value your input. The invitation, genuine and equal, warmed me. I'd like that, I said. On the drive home, I felt lighter than I had in years. Not because everything was resolved, it wasn't, and might never be completely, but because I'd finally stepped out of the shadows and into my own light. I'd named the truth, set boundaries, and begun the process of redefining my place in my family. The blank card was still in my purse, but now, instead of representing rejection, it had become something else. A blank page, waiting for me to write my own story. 3 weeks after the conversation at Emma's house, I found myself standing in a baby boutique, looking at tiny clothes and wondering what on earth a newborn actually needed. Emma's due date was still 2 months away, but the baby's welcome party was being planned for next weekend, a small gathering of family and close friends to celebrate before the exhaustion of new parenthood set in. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Found the perfect decorations for the party, blue and silver theme. Call me. I smiled slightly at the question mark, a small but meaningful change from her usual declarations. Our relationship was shifting, slowly, and with occasional backsliding, but shifting nonetheless. She'd actually asked for my input on the party planning, including me in meetings with the caterer, and listening to my suggestions about the guest list. Blue and silver sounds nice, I texted back. I'm at Tiny Treasures looking at gifts. Any suggestions? Her response came quickly. He'll be drowning in clothes. Maybe something special just from his aunt. I raised my eyebrows at the screen. Another small change, acknowledging my unique relationship to the baby, rather than just my utility as a gift buyer. As I browsed the store, I found myself drawn to a display of handcrafted wooden music boxes. One in particular caught my eye, a simple, elegant box with stars and moons carved into the lid. When opened, it played Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It reminded me of a similar box my father had given me when I was small, one that had disappeared after his death during one of our many moves. I purchased it along with a soft blanket and a collection of classic children's books. As the saleswoman wrapped them, she asked, "First-time aunt?" "Yes," I said, surprised by the rush of pride I felt at the title. "You're going to be amazing," she said with a warm smile. "There's nothing like the aunt relationship. All the love, none of the discipline." I laughed and thanked her, carrying my purchases to the car with a lightness in my step. The past few weeks had been a time of small revelations and subtle shifts. Emma and I were talking more often, having honest conversations about our childhood and our hopes for the future. My mother was trying in her way, sometimes succeeding, sometimes falling back into old patterns, but trying nonetheless. The most significant changes, though, were within me. I was speaking up more, not just in my family, but in all areas of my life. I'd asked for a raise at work and gotten it. I'd started dating again after a 2-year hiatus, meeting a kind, thoughtful man named David, who seemed genuinely interested in knowing the real me. Most importantly, I'd stopped measuring my worth against Emma's or anyone else's expectations. That evening, as I was organizing my closet, another small act of reclaiming my space, my phone rang. It was Emma. "Hey," I answered, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder as I folded sweaters. "How's my nephew doing today?" Emma laughed, practicing his gymnastics routine on my bladder. "Listen, can you come over tomorrow? There's something I want to show you." "Sure," I said. "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine," she assured me. "Just something I want to do before the baby comes. Around 2? I'll be there." The next day, I arrived at Emma's house to find her sitting on the front porch, looking serene despite the late July heat. She waved as I approached, then pointed to a small package beside her. "What's this?" I asked, settling into the adjacent chair. "Open it," she said, her eyes bright with anticipation. I unwrapped the package carefully to find a leather-bound book. Opening it, I realized it was a photo album, but not a new one. It was filled with photos of me, starting from when I was a baby and continuing through my childhood, adolescence, and into adulthood. "Where did you get all these?" I asked, turning the pages slowly. "I've been collecting them for weeks," Emma explained. "From Mom's albums, from relatives, from old school yearbooks. It wasn't easy. Mom didn't take as many photos of you as she did of me, but they exist." I continued flipping through the pages, emotion welling in my throat. There I was at 5, missing my front teeth. At 10, holding a science fair trophy. At 16, leaning against my first car, a used Honda I'd saved for by working weekends at the mall. At 22, in my college graduation gown, looking tired but proud. "Emma," I began, not sure how to express what I was feeling. "Wait, there's more," she said, pulling out an envelope from beside her chair. "These are copies of the photos Mom will never show anyone, the ones that don't fit her narrative." I opened the envelope to find more photos, me with our father, his arm around my shoulders as we stood beside a fishing pond. Me at 13, in a karate uniform with a trophy. Me playing the lead in the school play, a role my mother had deemed not worth the effort when I mentioned auditions. "How did you find these?" I whispered. "Dad had a separate album," Emma said quietly. "Mom kept it in the attic after he died. I found it when I was helping her clean out last year, but I didn't really understand its significance until recently. These are all the moments Mom missed or minimized, the parts of you she couldn't fit into her version of our family." Tears welled in my eyes as I looked at the evidence of a life that had sometimes felt invisible. Achievements uncelebrated, milestones unmarked by maternal pride. "I wanted you to have these," Emma continued. "And I wanted to tell you that I see you, Lisa. The real you, not Mom's version or even your version of yourself. Just you, my brilliant, stubborn, kind sister who deserves to be celebrated just as much as anyone else." I couldn't speak, could only reach over and squeeze her hand tightly. "And one more thing," she added. "I'm naming the baby Daniel, after Dad. Daniel Thomas. I thought you'd like that." Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. Our father's name had rarely been spoken in our house after his death, as if my mother could erase the pain of losing him by erasing his memory. "He would have been so proud of you," I managed finally. "Both of us, I think." Emma nodded, her own eyes shining. "He would have been proud of how you stood up for yourself. He always said you had his spine." We sat in companionable silence for a while, looking through the album together, sharing memories that had been buried under years of complicated family dynamics. As the afternoon light began to fade, Emma said hesitantly, "Mom's coming to dinner. Would you stay? I think it would be good for us all to be together, not pretending anymore." I considered the invitation. There was still part of me that tensed at the thought of facing my mother, still the echo of old hurts. But there was also the possibility of something new, something healthier. "I'd like that," I said finally. When my mother arrived an hour later, she seemed surprised but not displeased to see me. Her eyes fell on the photo album still open on the coffee table. "Oh," she said softly. "Where did you find those?" "I've been collecting them," Emma explained. "For Lisa, and for the baby, so he can know his aunt properly." My mother picked up a photo of me at 8, standing proudly beside a sandcastle. "I remember this day," she said unexpectedly. "You were so determined to build the biggest castle on the beach. Your father said you'd be an architect someday." The casual mention of our father, the memory shared without bitterness, it felt like a small gift. Dinner was not perfect. There were still moments of tension, still the occasional comment from my mother that made me bristle. But there were also moments of genuine connection, of 3 women trying, in their imperfect ways, to forge a new kind of relationship. As I helped clear the dishes, my mother paused beside me at the sink. "I've been thinking," she said, not looking at me directly. "The blank card at the shower. It was wrong of me." The admission, though belated, meant something. "Yes, it was," I agreed. She nodded, accepting the truth without argument. "I've never been good at seeing you clearly. Your father was so much better at that." It was the closest she'd ever come to acknowledging the root of her behavior, that my resemblance to my father, both physically and in temperament, had been a painful reminder of her loss. "We can try to do better," I offered. "All of us." She gave me a quick, almost shy smile before turning back to the dishes. It wasn't a dramatic reconciliation, but it was honest, and honesty was what I'd been seeking all along. Later that night, as I drove home under a canopy of stars, I thought about the journey of the past month. From the public humiliation of the blank card to this new understanding, this tentative rebuilding of family bonds. Nothing was perfect. My mother would likely never be the warm, unconditionally loving parent I'd yearned for as a child, but she was trying in her way, and so was I. More importantly, I'd found my voice. I'd drawn my boundaries. I'd stopped accepting scraps of affection and started demanding the respect I deserved. When I reached my apartment, I took out the blank card that had started everything, the empty rectangle that had once symbolized my invisibility in my own family. I looked at it for a long moment, then picked up a pen and wrote across the front, "The beginning of the real me." Inside, I began to write the story of the past month, not for my mother or even for Emma, but for myself. The story of how a blank card had become a blank page, the story of how pain had transformed into healing, the story of a woman who had finally learned that her worth wasn't determined by someone else's ability to see it. As I wrote, I thought about my soon-to-be-born nephew, about the legacy of our complicated family. I made a silent promise to him. "You will be loved for exactly who you are. You will never need to earn my affection. You will be seen." And maybe that was the greatest gift to come from all of this, the chance to break the cycle, to create a new kind of family story for the next generation, one where love wasn't conditional, where each person was valued for their unique self, where no one ever had to stare at a blank card and wonder why they weren't enough. I closed the card and placed it on my nightstand. No longer a symbol of rejection, but a reminder of growth. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, its own opportunities for backsliding or progress. But tonight, I was at peace with the woman I had become, no longer defined by what I lacked, but by what I had found within myself. the strength to stand up, the courage to speak truth, the wisdom to know my own worth, and the heart to remain open, even after being hurt. These were gifts no one could give me in an envelope. These were gifts I had given myself.